If you can talk about, particularly when you think about what am I going to do in the world, and choosing to be an activist as your primary engagement, whether activism is on the streets and outside of conventional institutions, or moving into conventional institutions and laying the education and dealing with some of the bureaucratic inertia, or dealing with technology and issues of design. There's still a sense that all of you have that there's a really profound commitment, and I think a lot of people feel both the urgency and the need and desire to kind of plug in, but sometimes it's kind of hard in a way to find what's going to call you, because it also has to come from a resonance within.
Some of the work that we do, we work a lot with children. We do a lot of educations, taking children into nature. A lot of it has to do with reconnecting with nature. There's an element of what's called nature deficiency disorder. A lot of the children are so afraid of nature because they don't spend time out there. So if you don't spend time outside, you don't understand what it feels like to be in a place like here and connect with the surrounding and all the beautiful things that are given to us, then it's hard for us to understand how we could actually use that knowledge to better our own self. So a lot of the work that we do is really education, training people to think in a different way, not in a human way, but more in a holistic way, and how nature will do it based on principles that life has evolved and used for billions of years.
Between the ages of like 14 and 18, I was learning a lot online about how fucked up the world was, in terms of war, global capitalism, poverty, racism, all of these things, and I found myself very against all of these things. And we actually started building that alternative world we want to step into right there in Zuccotti Park. I came over to the West Coast, we started building that alternative world we want to step into right in Justin Herman Plaza in San Francisco, where we were operating through a gift economy, through mutual aid, through consensus decision making, through voluntary association. We started creating those alternative social structures. And then when we did Occupy the Farm, we actually took back a piece of land and transitioned those alternative social structures onto a land base where we're actually creating our own food and actually connecting with the land base to grow food and grow medicine and build our own structures and actually create sustenance. So that's kind of been my path that brought me to this point of wanting to instigate more permaculture action. Basically mobilize people and invite people to take direct action to build a world of permaculture, and that's what we've been doing for the last year with this permaculture action tour and the work that's come out of that.
So essentially what I've been seeing is that there's a huge gap between what we know and what we're doing. And so essentially that's the gap that I've been looking at and saying, okay, what applications can we create to close that gap? If we look at our water treatment systems today, as I mentioned in my talk earlier, they're several decades old, if not a century more old. And so our systems are very dated, and unfortunately, the design methodology that we used is also very dated. And that would be fine if it held true and was benefiting us overall. But in our current systems, the design approach that we took was very mechanical. And so this mechanistic approach to reality finally is starting to give way to a biological approach. And I think that several of you here have spoken to that. Permaculture, a lot of the principles of permaculture look at biology directly and say, oh, well, let's look at it and let's see how biology does it. And so what I've been doing is taking it just a little step further, because all biology happens in in life. And so when we look at the fundamental principles of biology, we see the principles of water. And the functions of water. And so I've been going through and looking at the phenomenons of water that are not fully understood, and developing ways to use those phenomenons to help solve some of our complex issues.
The water crisis for the state of California and for the world is not a lack of water. The water crisis is that we have lost our connection to water, like you were saying 200 years ago, and that we no longer even know where our water comes from, or what's in it, or how much we use of it a day, or where it goes when it goes away from your house. And we don't match the right water source with the right end use. If you're going to take a dump, what's the right water source? None, right? If you're going to water your plants, what's the best water source? Rainwater. And we have forgotten so deeply that remembering has taken us so long, and meanwhile our population with this crazy way of living is multiplying exponentially, and the earth can't handle it.